What's up, Banter fam? If you missed the Arbitrum airdrop, then I believe that zkSync could be your next big airdrop opportunity. And there are many opportunities in this ecosystem that are presenting themselves and I think are going to present themselves over the rest of 2023. So in today's video, I want to explain everything you need to know about zkSync and a potential airdrop. I released a thread on my Twitter yesterday, which went into some of the details, but in this show, I'm going to be going even further and showing you step by step how to actually put yourself in the best position to receive a zkSync airdrop, because I believe it's going to be an ecosystem that could be quite fruitful, being one of the biggest capital raises in crypto history and one of the biggest raises for any layer 2 product. So if we go through the raises here, we can see Blockchain Capital, Dragonfly, A16, Lightspeed, Variant, BitDAO. They've all contributed to raising over $450 million. And we know how important raises are when it comes to airdrop size, because this gives the team the capacity to offer heightened token incentives, which means aka a bigger airdrop. And also it increases the likelihood of a token because these investors need to see some sort of positive ROI. And one of the easiest and most effective ways to do that in crypto, of course, is to launch a token. And that would, in this case, be the ZKS token. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. You might be noticing I'm wearing a cap today. Let's go straight after this stream. I'm heading over to the F1. Thank you to our friends at OKX. They have sponsored my pass, and I'm going to, I think, go trackside and meet some of the drivers. It's going to be an awesome, awesome day. So I'm excited for that. But before I head over there, we have some important stuff to discuss. Thank you everyone for bearing with me as well. I know it's a couple minutes late, but that's because these videos take quite a lot of preparation to get together every single morning. But I think you're in for a treat today with a very good video. I just want to quickly say before we get into it, I've left the thread link as the first link in the description. If you need any of these resources, that has links to all the websites. So if you're a bit lost and you need it in written form, then of course you have the link in the description. I also want to say, if you like the tweet and retweet the tweet, so click the like button, click the retweet button on the tweet in the link in the description, I'll give away $100 to a random retweeter that retweets within the next 24 hours of this video. In fact, let's say 48 hours, but you know, better if you do it sooner. So all you need to do is like, retweet it using the link in the description on this thread, or you can just go to my profile and also leave your Twitter handle in the comments of the YouTube video. So then I can cross-check the people that have commented on YouTube, either in the live chat or in the chat afterwards, and the people that have actually retweeted and liked it on my Twitter. So $100 to someone that does that. And yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into it. May as well, you know, kick off the video with a free giveaway, give away some money. Out of my own pocket. That's not actually sponsored. I just, you know, felt like rewarding someone that interacts with the tweet, because I feel like I put a lot of effort into this. It was a pretty in-depth thread, and I've put a lot of effort into researching the best possible steps for zkSync over the last few weeks to really, you know, hone in on the right criteria, because I wasn't the first one to market with this. There's been other creators that have come out with threads and other creators that have come out with videos, but I wanted mine to be the actual steps and not just, you know, copy pasta. And waiting actually ended up being a good thing, because a few days ago, zkSync announced their mainnet error launch, and then the ball game completely changed. Whereas everyone was on their Lite network, which was zkSync 1.0, now I think a lot of projects are bridging to their mainnet, and that's creating new opportunities. So it's actually a good thing if you haven't done zkSync yet that you waited. Sure, you may have missed out on a bit of testnet activity, but in the scheme of things, given the fact the token is likely going to take a few months, and we're going to get into that, of course, you know, I still think there's a great opportunity here. So let's get into zkSync and the actual opportunity that is in front of us. So essentially, what zkSync is it is a layer 2 blockchain. So it is powered by ZK Rollups. If you don't know what a ZK Rollup is, it is a blockchain protocol that processes transactions, performs computations, and stores data off-chain whilst holding assets in an on-chain smart contract. So what they essentially do is they help alleviate congestion off the Ethereum network, because you know how congested, expensive, difficult the Ethereum network becomes, especially during times of high usage. ZK Rollups essentially are a solution, a privacy-enhanced solution that allows you to alleviate pressure off the main layer 1, which is, of course, in this case, Ethereum. Now, ZK rollups have been touted as one of the most exciting technological prospects in crypto. I've spoken to many major VCs and developers, and they're all very excited about the future of ZK, and so am I, because I believe it presents a real cornerstone for the crypto industry as a whole, due to the fact it's a massive technological advancement, not only for crypto, but ZK privacy related implementations into the real world could enhance security at the highest level for real-world applications as well. So ZK doesn't just have applications in crypto, it actually is a groundbreaking technology across the tech world in general. So Matter Labs, who built zkSync, utilizes this technology in order to create a network with low gas, high security and speeds, censorship resistance, and seamless asset transfers. And ZK is often thought as kind of like the big brother to the optimistic style rollups, like we've seen with Optimism and Arbitrum, which to this date have been very good. I mean, the Arbitrum network is fantastic to use, so is the Optimism network. But ZK is kind of that next step. Of course, proof is going to be in the pudding because these networks need to go live, need to gain traction. We need to see stuff being built on them before we can verify that ZK in practice is really better. But in theory, there are inherent benefits to ZK, namely the privacy element and the scalability cost element. Theoretically, long term, they should be cheaper. Although in the short term, as you would have seen, like it's cheaper to use Arbitrum for the time being. But the goal long term is that ZK is going to be very helpful for helping Ethereum solve its scalability problems. Now, zkSync says that its ZK rollups can offer 2,000 TPS at peak load, but if they combine that with ZK Porter, which is another solution, which is their Validium solution. So they've basically got two chains running in tandem with each other, two protocols, the zkEVM product and then their Validium product. They think if they can combine these two, and this is a graphic of how it works here, then they can achieve scalability of 20,000 transactions per second plus. So that would obviously make it one of the fastest networks in crypto, and one of the most interoperable networks in crypto as well, allowing you to bridge assets to and from the main chain quite easily. So that's a little bit of an insight into zkSync and what it is. If you do want more information, remember there is that thread in the description. I've linked a couple of resources there. Someone said, can I participate to this or is it too late? Well, that's the question I'm about to answer. Will there be a ZKS token? And if there will be a ZKS token, when will the ZKS token come? Well, the CoinDesk article had a exclusive interview with Alex, the founder of Matter Labs, and he says the team is focused on today's launch and further development of the protocol. A token only comes into play when decentralizing the network, and that is still far on the horizon. So he was kind of downplaying the likelihood of a token being launched. But if you remember in Arbitrum's early days, the exact same thing happened. So basically what Arbitrum did is they launched their product, they focused on development, they tried to really attract high-quality devs and dApps to deploy on Arbitrum. Then those dApps, as a reflection of their quality, attracted users. That's why we saw such a massive user base. Then the hype of an airdrop, of course, resulted in even more transaction volume and users. Then they launched the token only 2 weeks ago, after they gained their users, after they gained their developers. And what delaying their token did was allow them to gain traction and make sure they had a viable business model and a viable product before they rushed to launch a token. Now, the comments that Alex makes here, even though he says there's no plans for a token, they are alluding to the Arbitrum model, because he said a token only comes into play when decentralizing the network. That is exactly why ARB launched a token. They launched a token so ARB could become the governance token for a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization that would allow holders of Arbitrum to vote on future protocol upgrades and major protocol decisions. This is basically what Alex is alluding to when it comes to zkSync, that a token could kick in to help decentralize the network. Now, he also said in this article that he expects the sequencer, because right now they are using a centralized sequencer before they decentralize it with the token. He says he expects it to be decentralized in around a year's time. So if you take this comment in around a year's time, pair it up with the fact that he said a token comes into play when decentralizing the network, best guess is that the token launches in around 12 months. That is the best guess I have right now. Of course, it could take longer if there's delays. It could take lesser time. If, let's say, we go into a huge bull run and then there's more pressure on them to launch a token, it could take less time. But right now, with the information we have in front of us, I think it's going to be a similar time frame that Arbitrum followed. The lucky thing for zkSync is they have Arbitrum and the successes and the failures of Arbitrum to monitor over the next year, and then make improvements upon it to not make the same mistakes they did. And same with Optimism. Arbitrum had the advantage of viewing Optimism's launch, and now zkSync has the advantage of viewing Optimism and Arbitrum's launch in order to do a better job and improve upon it. So I do think that the token will end up launching in around 12 months' time. And if this is the case, then that means there is ample time to potentially qualify for an airdrop. If this is the case, and it does come out in 12 months' time, then you potentially have 12 months, or let's say 9 months, because the Arbitrum snapshot was a month. Well, it was actually only a month before, so theoretically 11 months you'll have to qualify for an airdrop. zkSync might close the snapshot slightly earlier than Arbitrum. Arbitrum was a lot later than people expected, only a month before the snapshot. zkSync might be 3 months, 4 months. Either way, whatever it is, there's still time. And at the end of the day, mainnet only launched 6 days ago. So think about it from zkSync's perspective. They want the most amount of users possible using the network. They want the most amount of traction possible on the network. And the only way to do that is to open up your airdrop pool to the most amount of people possible. They don't want to be selective and only give away an airdrop to 20,000 users. That's not great for them. That's just making like an exclusive club. And a lot of people that missed out on the airdrop, they're going to be really disheartened by that. They're not going to be happy because they missed out on an airdrop and they're not going to want to use the ecosystem. Whereas if you airdrop to more people, let's say 1 million people, like Arbitrum did, I think Arbitrum was around 700,000, then that's 700,000 people that all now have tokens on your network that are more likely to use your network, more likely to engage with your network, more likely to become a community member. Because when people get free tokens, there's an element of loyalty there. So subconsciously, they're going to be slightly more incentivized to stick with the ecosystem and use the ecosystem. So now I'm going to get up I'll actually get up the real tab for you. I want to get up a video which explains why token incentives are so crucial when it comes to airdrops. Where is this? Here. So this is from 𝗏𝗍𝗄𝗏. He is the co-founder of Tangent Ventures, one of the biggest VC funds with Jason Choi. I did an interview with him. Listen to what he had to say about the opportunity ahead of us for L2s and zkSync.
I think it's going to be insanely contested. You're going to have at least 3 to 4 powerhouse zkEVMs coming online, probably in the next 18 months. And we're already seeing a lot of optimistic rollups as a service solutions coming to market. So you're going to see a lot of app chains launching their individual rollups going forward. So what you're going to have is you're going to have a lot of big guys with their individual ecosystems and a lot of smaller players acting as applications with their own rollups by themselves. It's going to be pretty interesting. I think it's a net win for the user. Definitely, there'll be token incentives being thrown around amongst all these ecosystems. I think it's going to be insanely contested.
So essentially what 𝗏𝗍𝗄𝗏 was saying there is that this is going to be one of the most contested and fought over spaces in the crypto world, because there's all these L2 products starting to launch. You had Arbitrum, you had Optimism, you have Matic, then you have zkSync, you have Starknet, you have Scroll. All these different protocols are fighting for a slice of the pie. And when they're all fighting for a slice of the pie, they need users and they need ways to differentiate themselves. And conducting an airdrop, conducting token incentives is one easy way for them to differentiate themselves from the rest of the pack, or at least try and attract users, right? Now, it's kind of funny. It's kind of ironic that they're all trying to incentivize each other with money, and then it ends up not being a differentiator. But at the end of the day, like if one token has an incentive and another one doesn't, then people are going to go to the one with the incentive, right? So given the fact it's such a highly contested space, and given the fact that there are huge backers behind these projects and they can afford to run massive token incentive schemes, it's highly likely there will be an airdrop for zkSync. And that is the major reason and thesis behind why I think there'll be an airdrop. And that also presents the thesis for why I am going for an airdrop. So I want to preface the following steps I'm about to give you, because I'm about to let you know my exact steps for how I would go about getting an airdrop for zkSync. I just want to say, I'm going to give you these steps, but it doesn't guarantee you an airdrop. So We don't know exactly right now what requirements will be needed. We're only guessing based on the requirements that we think could be needed. So, of course, don't risk any capital you can't afford to lose. Although you're not inherently guaranteed to lose capital for bridging to zkSync, it's still your Ethereum. It's just on a different network. Don't go too crazy with like these dApps because there is protocol exploitation risk. Some of these projects are new, and don't keep a crazy amount of your funds on protocols that you don't know much about. I think it's a bit safer to bridge to zkSync because it's just a network and it's unlikely there's a huge network bridge hack or something. Can happen, but it's still more unlikely than a direct protocol exploit. And also just accept that, look, you could spend hours and hours farming this airdrop and you may not get it. The thing about airdrop farming is it is a game of persistence. So the more you do, the higher chance you have of getting an airdrop. But it's also a game of luck. We can't sit here and be entitled as airdrop farmers, right? There were people that farmed at Arbitrum and just got the steps wrong and failed. Now, of course, if you followed my steps, you wouldn't have failed. You would have got an Arbitrum airdrop, but I'm not always going to get it 100% of the time. I think I've done my research. I think the steps I'm about to give you are the best ones right now, but these will change. And I'll keep you updated as they change here and on my Twitter. But I just wanted to preface it by saying, you know, airdrop farming, it's not this guaranteed thing. It is one of the best risk-reward activities in crypto, especially if you don't have much capital, because what other industry can you make thousands of dollars from doing very little work and putting in very little effort? I can't really name one where you can just sit behind your computer, flick around a few magic internet tokens and then receive thousands of dollars for an airdrop. It's crazy. And that's just due to how contested the space is, as 𝗏𝗏𝗿𝗏 said, and how many incentives are being chucked around due to the massive size of the raises. zkSync's a $2 billion protocol on valuation. Starknet's $8 billion on valuation. Like, these have huge valuations, thus huge incentives. Thus, you get paid for using the network. Now, this video today is going to focus on their new mainnet. So I'm seeing a bit of confusion because most of the airdrop guides that you've probably seen to this date are outdated and focusing on zk Lite. So what zkSync did a year ago is launch a network called zkSync 1.0 that has now been rebranded to zkSync Lite. That network now represents the old network. zkSync 2.0 is called zkSync Era Network. Their Era Network is their end game mainnet. This is the mainnet with the supposedly the best tech and with the most dApps. Now, this doesn't mean zkSync Lite is going to just be abandoned. zkSync 2.0 isn't replacing zk1. You can still use Lite, and you will still be able to use Lite in a year's time or 2 years' time, even when zkSync Era is fully fleshed out with a bunch of projects. I would think of zkSync Lite as the Arbitrum 𝗏𝗏𝗽𝗏, and I would think of zkSync Era as the Arbitrum 1 network. Remember, the Arbitrum airdrop actually did pay a small amount of tokens to people as an additional requirement that used Arbitrum 𝗏𝗏𝗏. A similar thing could happen here. There could be a payment to users that use zkSync Lite as well as zkSync Era. This video is going to focus mostly on Era because I think that's where the bigger opportunities will come. But I still think you should still put a little bit of effort into zkSync Lite, whether that's just playing around on Zigzag, which is one of the exchanges, doing some swaps, bridging onto it, depositing some liquidity, do some little things, spend 10% of your time there, and then go 90% on zkSync Era. That would be my best guess because this is their new product that they're hyping up and a lot of protocols are launching. Apparently Curve, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, Compound Maker, the big crypto DeFi behemoth dApps, they're going to be launching on Era as well. So they will operate simultaneously in case you're confused, but the Era mainnet is their newest. So I hope that helps kind of distinguish between things. I accidentally clicked on 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃. Did they win a game this morning? They're on my trending page. So the first thing you need to do to get involved with zkSync is bridge funds to zkSync. So there's a website called bridge.zkSync.io. You'll see it here on zkSync.io. You click on bridge. This will bring you to a bridge page. Just let me connect my MetaMask wallet really quick and enter in my password so you see what it looks like. So basically, you can bridge Ethereum from the Ethereum mainnet over to the zkSync Era mainnet. Right now, you can only bridge ETH, Mute, or USDC. So you can do stables. You've also got Perp, which is a Perps protocol, and Combo as well. So bridge over whatever asset you want. Probably easiest just to do ETH or USDC because that's what most of the pools contain. You might end up needing both. But if you put ETH across, then you can just swap some out for USDC, or if you put USDC across, then you can swap some out for ETH. But I would definitely bridge across. That's the first thing you need to do to get funds from the ETH mainnet to the zkSync Era mainnet. Now, of course, in order to get funds on your MetaMask, you're going to need to buy it from a centralized exchange. So you can go into an exchange like OKX, Bybit, BitGet, whatever exchange you want. You can buy funds over there and then put it into your MetaMask and then bridge it across. Or, I'm assuming most of you already have funds on chain, then you just need to bridge it across from the ETH network to the zkSync network. It is EVM compatible, zkSync Era, which means you are going to have the ability to bridge across multiple chains. Right now, there's only an ETH zkSync bridge, but there's also a bridge called 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Is it up here? There's also a bridge called 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, which connects a few of the other chains as well. So you can go from zkSync. They only have zkSync Lite, actually. So you can go from zkSync Lite across to Arbitrum and some of the other networks as well. But they'll add zkSync Era probably in a couple days. It was actually on there last night, but they must have done some tweak this morning because I actually did have a play around with it last night. So yeah, that's the first step. You need to get funds across. The second step is to use the DEXes. So there isn't many protocols live yet on zkSync. So I'm going to tell you the ones in this video that are currently live if you want to get started now. In a couple of weeks, there's likely going to be many more protocols. You could simply change your activity based on the new projects that launch. So if you're using SyncSwap now, you don't need to use it forever for the next 12 months. If GMX launches on zkSync, then feel free to use GMX, because what happened with Arbitrum was it didn't reward DApp loyalty. The individual DApps rewarded loyalty with their airdrops, but Arbitrum itself just rewarded general transaction and bridging volume onto the chain. So as long as you're on the chain using DApps, it doesn't matter which ones you use. But right now you only have a few options. That's why I'm going to mention them in today's video. The first one is SyncSwap. Basically, you just want to interact with it. So swap from Ethereum into USD, swap from USDC into ETH. That's basically all you can do on it right now, right? You just want to swap some tokens. You are going to pay fees. The major cost to airdrop farming is fees, right? So your goal over the long term is to spend less on fees than you're spending on, than you're receiving for the airdrop. So you want to, let's say you think the airdrop will be around $5,000 if you really stick to it over the next year, then you want to spend obviously ideally half of that on fees. You'll probably spend way less. You'll probably spend, $200-300 max on fees over a year. But you can also be very selective when you use the network. Try and use it during periods where the network isn't so congested and doesn't have as high a gas. Interesting thing about ZK products, though, is that they actually respond very well to congestion. So actually, you'll sometimes see higher gas fees when there's less transactions on the network. Now, I know that sounds counterintuitive, but the way ZK works is it relies on batching transactions together. So the more transactions that are occurring, sometimes the quicker and cheaper the network actually becomes. Pretty interesting. So sometimes when fees are high, it's actually because the network's not being used much. But in terms of zkSync now, at times the fees have been pretty high. So you may just want to wait for periods where it's not so high. If that means waiting a couple of weeks from this video, so be it. You'll need to check what the fees are when you actually go and bridge funds on, because I don't want you spending hundreds of dollars in fees. You shouldn't have to on an application that's ZK powered. So swapping on SyncSwap's the first thing I'd do. Then I'd go into the pools and just deposit some liquidity. TVL was a requirement for Arbitrum. So there are pools here like ETH USDC paying 42%. If I connect to my wallet, you'd see the other percentages. I think you've got zkDoge at 100%. Look, I don't recommend aping into shitcoins. If you want to do it and you want to risk it for the biscuit, do it. Or risk it for the dog food in this case. Risk it for the dog biscuit. ETH, CZ knows about dog food if you saw his tweet. ETH USDC is probably the safest one there. Someone said I use multi-chain to bridge. So multi-chain is a bridge aggregator, right? They're probably going to have a bridge. I would still use zkSync's bridge just because, yeah, I would just use their native bridge. I feel like they'll want to reward people for using ZK products. So I don't think you've done yourself a disservice by using multi-chain. I would just try whenever possible to use products built by zkSync, because then you're actually genuinely using the network. The next website I would use is mute.io. It's essentially a DEX, just like SyncSwap. It also has bonds and bond yield trading. I mean, just keep it simple here. Just swap between tokens. Mute's got a lot of shitcoins, so if you are a bit of a shitcoin trader and you want to get your ZK Doges and all that stuff, you can do it. Once again, don't know if I recommend it, but If you want to ape, it's got a few different pools, and that enables token swaps on a few different tokens. And yeah, it's an AMM swap between ETH, USDC, whatever you want to swap between, mute, zkDoge if you want, swap between those assets and then go into their pool section and add liquidity to their pools. Just like SyncSwap, it's got pretty decent pools. It's got USDC, ETH paying 58%. It's got the zkDoge pool paying 123%. It's got a fair few pools here paying a decent APY. Now, I wouldn't be on the chain just to APY hunt, but if you can get a decent amount of yield and at the same time go for an airdrop, it's not a bad thing to do. So Mute and SyncSwap are the two main ones on the mainnet right now. There are other ones like Zigzag, which are on the Lite network. So you're still going to have to use them on zkSync 1.0 until they deploy, and they said they're going to deploy soon, on the Era mainnet. And when they do that, then you can move transactions across. So there are many great apps still that haven't deployed on the new zkSync, but they probably will in the near future. The next thing I would look at doing, so they're the two DEXes. There are more, but you don't need to do all of them. Just keep it manageable, focus on a couple, do some swapping, provide some liquidity. You don't need to do it with a lot of money either. Of course, the more money you do it with, the higher chance you have of getting a big airdrop. We know Arbitrum actually filtered based on deposit volume. That's why starting early is better, because you can actually develop thousands of dollars worth of transaction volume if you start now. If you start with a month to go, you're going to be scrambling to like spend and waste more money. So I think just using the network and getting involved with these dApps and just doing a little bit of activity and just having fun, guys. If you need to degen into shitcoins, do it. If that's what it takes for you to be interested, then do it. Just whatever you need to do to use the network, to get yourself using it, to have fun, just play around with DeFi, just experiment on chain and use these dApps and have fun with strategies on these dApps, the better. At the end of the day, what zkSync wants to see is genuine network activity. They don't care about really what exact dApp you use. They don't really care if you put a 1% like liquidity position in and then swap it out for a bond. And they don't care. What they'll likely care more about is just you're genuinely using the network and genuinely over time creating volume. I think frequency will also be a component like it was with Arbitrum, meaning if you consistently interact with the ecosystem over 6 months, you're in a better position than someone that just does it for a week, then gives up, and then checks in if they've gotten an airdrop later. So it probably is worth, and I've got resources to my thread linked with tips for this, getting a calendar and saying like, okay, every Sunday, I'm going to interact with 3 zkSync protocols. It's going to take you 10 minutes. Once you have ETH on zkSync, it is literally going to take you 10 minutes to click a few buttons a week. Like 10 minutes a week for an airdrop in a year is not a bad trade at all, right? And as new dApps launch and you start to use them, then you can just genuinely start trading. If GNS launches on zkSync, then you can just trade coins as you normally would over there, right? So that's what they want to see. They want to see genuine interaction. One thing I think might be a requirement is NFTs. NFTs are essentially like viewed in the eyes of zkSync as tokens. So an easy way to kind of get some of that trading volume up a little bit would actually be to go onto Mint Square, switch to the ZK Era network, because they're also on Starknet, and then mint an NFT. So if you go here and click mint, you can actually put your own photo on, mint your own NFT, and create one with attributes, which is pretty cool. So if you mint an NFT, you're going to pay a little bit of gas. That could be a cool thing to do, as well as just buying a couple NFTs. I mean, research zkSync NFTs, right? Because some of the early ones, they could actually do pretty well in price. I don't know much about NFTs, but it's probably just worth picking a couple up and just trying to tick that box. Just at least you hold an NFT on zkSync, at least you've minted one, and then even list a couple just so you like get a bit of trading volume through. You've bought, you've listed, and I would just mint an NFT, buy one, and sell one. Similarly, I do the same with a zkSync domain. I would go onto zkSync domains. I would search a domain, and someone's probably going to take this after the video. But like CryptoBanter.zk, it's unavailable. Someone's already taken it. Well, all right, let's go Crypto Banter 1. Let's see if that's available. So that is available. So if it's available, you can search it up. You can register your domain, and depending on how long the period is, you'll pay a little bit more. So that's $41 for 8 periods. Is 1 period 8 years? I don't know exactly how long that is, but assuming it is, then it's not too expensive. So, I mean, you could just do 1 registration period, however long you want to do, get yourself a domain. I think this is a bonus step. I don't think this is like a fundamental prerequisite, but the more you do, the better, right? And if you have a domain and an NFT, it just differentiates yourself a little bit from the others that are maybe a bit lazy and don't want to do it. The Orbiter bridge, as I said, once they're live on zk, they're a native bridge on zk. I think they could be a required one. Weird, because they actually had the network yesterday. Now they don't. But I think using Orbiter will just help. Anytime you can use a native zk bridge, that's going to help. The other thing I would look at is actually joining the Crew 3 task dashboard. So if you go to Crew 3 and to the zkSync page, what you'll see is there are actually zkSync specific quests that you can complete, including joining the Discord, following them on Twitter, getting a member role on Discord, going through some courses, liking them on Twitter, like doing some basic stuff. If you just complete these quests, I think it just puts you in a better position. We've seen time and time again, protocol airdrops often factor in people that have gone above and beyond and done the quests. So Arbitrum, I don't think, had this as a requirement. I think Odyssey definitely helped you, because if you completed Arbitrum Odyssey, then as a byproduct, you would have built up more transaction volume. So similar thing with zkSync. Joining the Discord is never a bad thing for new information. Interacting with them on Twitter is never a bad thing, and neither is completing the tasks on the network as well. So that's something you can also do for over on Q3. So now I want to go into the requirements and have a look at what Arbitrum did exactly, so we can kind of copy it on zkSync, because now you know some dApps that you can use. I think the most valuable thing to do now is copy the Arbitrum playbook, because as I said, zkSync is going to be looking at Arbitrum and Optimism, working out what they did, and then improving upon it. So it won't be the exact same, but it's the best framework we currently have for what could be required. And I believe if you tick off the Arbitrum boxes, you'll be in a better position, because you will be going off real precedent and not just guessing. And then look, they obviously will make changes, but at least you're going to still hit some of the requirements and get a decent sized airdrop. Before we get into that, I want to quickly remind you, we're doing a huge giveaway over on OKX. We're actually giving away a Tesla. So over the next few weeks, we're giving away a MacBook Pro, Manchester City FC tickets, a holiday to the Maldives. Oh, sorry, you don't pronounce it like that. I was corrected. It's Maldives. I don't know why I said Maldives. It's so dumb. It's Maldives. Tesla Model 3, which is up to $43,000. But if you don't want the Tesla, you can just claim a reward in USD. You actually earn more money, funnily enough, if you win the Tesla, claiming $50,000 worth of USD, buying the Tesla yourself for $43,000, and then you'll have $7,000 spent. So the Tesla reward is actually bigger in USD. And then you don't have the hassle of having a Tesla. But if you do want a Tesla, then you can win one through OKX. It's your choice, though, whether you want the money or the Tesla. So how it works is you have to use the link in the description to sign up for an OKX account. It's the first link in the description after my thread. If you click on that and sign up for an OKX account using the Join Now button, then you are eligible for the giveaway. You're only eligible if you use a Banter link. So if you use your own link, you can't join. If you are on a Banter link, you can join, because we have all the UIDs of the Banter guys, and that's where we conduct the raffle. We go through an Excel and have a roundabout that picks something. So the only way to do it is through that link. And the more you trade, the more volume you get. So if you trade $1, you still get one raffle ticket, but obviously the more you trade, the higher chance you have of winning. So every $10,000 in trading volume, and yes, that includes leverage, so you don't need to deposit $10,000. It's inclusive of margin. Every $10,000 worth of trading volume, you get an additional 5 tickets. So you can work your way up all the way to level 7, which is 31 tickets. 31 tickets is 31 chances, 31 extra chances versus the person that didn't trade, of winning a prize. So the more you trade, the more you could win. And of course, the Tesla is that grand prize, which is $50,000 at the end of May. But every week we're doing a frenzy of giveaways. So in 4 days, so on Monday on my show, because I think Ryan's away, I'm going to give away a MacBook Pro. So make sure you watch the show on Monday, of course. Then we're going to give away 2 tickets to Man City, and then the holiday, then the Tesla. So link in the description if you want to get involved with that. And if you were trading on another exchange, well, I probably shouldn't say this because Ryan's sponsored by Bybit, but I'm not. If you're trading on another exchange, just come over to OKX for the giveaway period, and then you're going to get extra incentives, as well as I think paying slightly lower fees than Bybit as well. So it's a win-win. Of course, if you do want to buy your Ethereum and whatnot for the zkSync thing, you can do it over there as well. I also just want to quickly say, don't trade ridiculous leverage if you can't handle it. Like, trading comps are amazing, but they're only for the people that like genuinely, trade anyway. Don't force yourself to trade to try and win a Tesla. You can, but it's probably unwise and you'll probably get wrecked. So I just want to make sure, if you are trading, still do it reasonably and don't open trades that you wouldn't normally take. So if you're going to trade a Bitcoin long, and you were going to long on another exchange, yeah, you may as well long it on OKX now so you can win prizes, but don't adjust the leverage to a crazy amount just so you can get that extra raffle ticket. Still make sure, you're being responsible. You're using the correct amount of leverage for your trading style and your stop loss, etc., and your risk tolerance, and then it's happy days. Go for the giveaway. I'm also going to be doing some live trading on the show and all sorts of fun stuff over the next few weeks. Do you need to KYC? I believe you do, because for us to give you a Tesla, especially, bro, we need to know who you are. We need to know how to send you the money, right? So at some point, if you did win, you'd have to KYC anyway. So yeah, I think you do have to KYC. I'm not 100% actually. It might be no KYC. But to actually win the Tesla, I assume you would have to be KYC because, read the TNCs, but I assume you would have to be. So let's go into the Arbitrum steps that I mentioned before. So these were the qualifying actions for Arbitrum 1. So we can see here that there were a lot of steps, but it's really broken down into 4 categories. And that's bridging, so people that bridge to the network; transacting, people that did transactions on the network; interacting with smart contracts, so people that played around with dApps, minted NFTs, all that sort of stuff. And also, number 4, deposited liquidity. So that's TVL into pools, right? Now, if you'd done the basic, so $10 worth of bridging, $10 worth of transactions, $10 worth of, if you did basically, with zero money or like very little money, you still would have ticked off the bare minimum boxes. So that would have gotten you an $800 airdrop roughly. So just by doing the bare minimum, if you ticked all the requirements with no size, you would have gotten roughly $800. But of course, the more you spent, the more you transacted, the more you bridged, the bigger your reward would have been. So if you managed to get, and some are also time-based, right? So let me show you an example. So the first thing was bridging funds onto Arbitrum 1. There was no dollar amount on that. So as long as you bridged on, bang, that's a requirement ticked. Second requirement, transactions during a 2, 6, and 9 month period. This is why I'm saying start transacting earlier rather than later on zkSync, because they're likely going to backdate it. And if you've been using the network for 9 months and the airdrop's in a year, then you're in a much better position than someone that only did it for 2 months. So the 9-month requirement for Arbitrum got people the biggest possible prize. And the only way to do that was to start interacting with the network in June or July last year. I started doing the airdrop stuff in October. That's when I did my thread. We qualified for the 6-month thing, but we didn't qualify for the 9-month thing. That would have been a slightly bit of extra cash to help us get to that max 10K airdrop amount per wallet. 10K Arbitrum equals roughly $15,000 right now. I had prizes across a few different wallets, but none of my wallets actually had the max prize of 10K. The max was like 5K. Because I didn't complete everything because I missed out by a few months. So that's why earlier, the better when it comes to these networks. And yes, you may have already missed the time requirement on zkSync for the max payout. What zkSync may do is say people that use zkSync 1 in 2022 will get an extra bit of cash. And if that's the case, then so be it. We can't do anything about it. All we can do is focus on the future, not the past. And you may end up missing out on a requirement because you weren't on zkSync Lite if you weren't. I did do a tweet on it last October, so hopefully you were, but if you weren't, I think it's fine. I think there's still enough of an opportunity. The other thing was the amount of transactions that you interacted with. So if you did 100 transactions on the network, you would have gotten the max amount versus the minimum, which was 4 transactions. So obviously, the earlier you start on zkSync, the more transactions you're going to be able to build to try and hit that threshold. Now, once again, this is Arbitrum. zkSync will be different, but it's a good framework because if you can tick off all the Arbitrum boxes, right, create a checklist, tick them all off, and in 6 months' time, you've done them all of the Arbitrum requirements, then you know you're at least a good chance of getting most of the zkSync requirements. They may come up with some completely new stuff. They may come up with a new system to throw a spanner in the works. They likely will, but it's still a good baseline to go for. The next thing was $2 amount requirements. Now, for some people, this may be hard. This is where it gets tricky for the smaller people out there. transactions exceeding 250,000 in value was the major airdrop, and then the most minimum was $10,000 in value. To be fair, this isn't that hard because you can wash trade $10,000 pretty easily and only pay like $1 in slip, a few dollars in slippage. So what you theoretically could do is trade $10,000 worth of USDC into Ethereum and then back into USDC. That would wash trade money and you wouldn't lose much. So it's the only annoying thing is it does take some starting capital. I wouldn't, by the way, focus on dollar amounts yet. What I would do is I would see where your transaction volume's sitting in like a few months' time. And then if you're really lagging behind and you realize, oh, I've only traded $1,000, by the way, keep an Excel spreadsheet or a Notion or some sort of note system for this, or you'll drive yourself nuts. What I would do is I'd just create an Excel or a Notion and I would just write down the dates. Friday, March 31st, then next Friday, or Sunday, or whatever day you do it. Write down what you've done, how much you bridged, when you did it. Then that way, when you go back through your wallets, you can easily line shit up with your Excel, and you're going to know how much you did. So transaction volume, 10,000, not actually hard to get up to 10K at all. Not hard to get up to 250, actually. You'd be very, very surprised. I've traded millions of dollars on Bybit, and I haven't done $1 million trade just with one trade. I've just done so many. You get millions of dollars worth of volume over time. It's similar to the OKX raffle thing. Like 10,000 seems like a lot, but once you actually trade, you realize you get 10,000 really easily. You just open a few trades and bang, you're already there. So it's similar with this. I think you can wash trade if you're really desperate in a few months and you're like, fuck, I've only got $2,000 worth of volume. You can just probably deposit 10K and then pull it out onto an exchange, except you're going to lose a few percent, but get your volume up a little bit. That's one option, right? But, that's kind of like a last resort. I think you're going to be able to build up volume organically if you just genuinely interact with the network. The other thing is depositing liquidity into Arbitrum. I don't know if you needed to keep it in there because theoretically you could deposit $50,000 and then undeposit it like a day later. I could put 50 grand in a pool and then take it out. So I don't know if there was a time lock on this. I need to look more into that. But liquidity, so TVL was another prerequisite. So that was for the Arbitrum 1 network. That's probably going to be what zkSync error is like the equivalent of. Once again, these could vary, but I'm just using this as an example. The Arbitrum Nova network, so this is the other Arbitrum network, this also had requirements. That's why I'm not ignoring zkSync Lite completely. I'm still doing Lite stuff. Probably doing more stuff on the mainnet now because errors just come out and I was already on Lite beforehand. But I would still do some stuff on zkSync Lite because what Arbitrum did with Nova is they still rewarded people for using it. And I didn't use Nova, so I didn't get this requirement. This is one of the reasons why I never hit the max payout on my wallets, which was 10 to 11,000 Arbitrum tokens per wallet, because I disregarded Nova. I was so focused on Arbitrum 1. So don't make that mistake with zkSync. Make sure you use both networks. zkSync Lite, which is their first mainnet. Some people think of it as the test net, if you want to think of it like that to make it easier. And then zkSync 2.0, which is their error mainnet, which just launched. That's kind of like their new one. So you can use both, and Arbitrum Nova was, in the end, a requirement, so it's worth doing. And as I said in the thread here, create a checklist of ARB requirements on Excel or Notion. Notion's great because you can... I'm actually going to do this for you guys. I'm gonna create a Notion template. It might take me a few weeks, but I think it'll be helpful for you. I'm going to create a Notion template with a general guide for how to structure a Notion, or I'll do a video on it. I'll either create it or I'll do a video on how to create it because I want to help you guys get organized. And Notion's a really good website. If you don't use it already, use it. It's life-changing to essentially keep track of stuff. So you could have all your airdrops listed, and then if you click on zkSync, all your checklists would come up. You tick them off as you complete them. Then you'd have all your dates, and that could sync with other calendar apps and stuff to remind you on your phone. There's so much stuff you can do. I'll either do a video or I'll do a template and give it to you guys in a video to help you with actually getting organized with this, because 99% of the battle with airdrop farming is organization. It's got nothing to do with the network. The networks are easy to use. You can bridge on easily, go into SyncSwap, play around, go into mint some NFTs. You can do all this stuff really easy. The difficult part is being consistent with it. As we saw, Arbitrum needed you to be consistently interacting for 9 months. most people got burnt out or forgot by the end of it. So having some sort of calendar system is important. 𝗟𝗲, I'll definitely do that because I think it's important to be organized, just as important it is to know what airdrop to go for. So here's the other thing. The hype for the airdrop is pretty real right now. So zkSync's seen 747,000 bridges, the most of any L2, as well as 153,000 depositors, also the most of any L2. The gas has been very high. So what I would do is I would focus on zkSync Lite, maybe for the next couple of weeks, which is that first testnet that you probably need to use anyway. You focus on that for a couple of weeks on an app like 𝗧𝗍𝗘𝗫, which is the DEX there, and there's many other apps. If you just look up zkSync Airdrop on Twitter, you'll see a million Lite threads. I'm the only mainnet thread, I think, or one of the only two. Most people wrote it before mainnet, so there's tons of Lite airdrops out there. I won't get too much into that, but I think over the next couple of weeks, if zkSync mainnet error is too expensive, go into the 1.0 network and try play around on that for a little bit until gas comes down. Maybe gas is lower today on mainnet. It's just it was quite expensive a couple of days ago. Not crazy. Like if we actually, let me actually give you the real prices. So zkSync, and it wasn't crazy. I'm just like aware of, you know, the people out there maybe that don't have that much capital and don't want to. Okay, so it's $5 to withdraw and 6 cents a transfer. It's not actually that bad. So you can use the mainnet now if you want. It's not too bad. But if you see some crazy price pop up, feel free to just wait it out a couple of weeks. It's going to get cheaper. The mainnet error isn't optimized yet. So zkSync Lite is optimized. Error isn't optimized yet. It's probably going to take a few weeks to start to become a bit cheaper. And more dApps are going to start deploying. So I think we're going to see Curve, maybe Uniswap, Sushi, Maker, all these dApps start to deploy. Maybe like some perp DEXes definitely that start to deploy on the mainnet, and then that gives us more options to use. Right now, we only have the protocols I talked about. We're going to have many more options over the next few weeks. Mainnet only launched 5 days ago. That's why the ecosystem isn't big. It's going to turn into something like an Arbitrum. Arbitrum is huge now. It's vast. It's amazing. It's big. So many dApps. I think we're going to see a similar thing on zkSync. So I think you're super early. And I think there's going to be opportunities with the altcoins. I know a few guys at Banter from the research team are looking at investing in things like SyncSwap and Mute. I can't speak on them because I haven't viewed their tokenomics. I don't know if they're crazy dilutive or what, but I'm definitely interested in zkSync investments, 100%. Because what happened with Arbitrum is the Arbitrum tokens, they 5 to 10, 20x'd in the lead up to the airdrop. I mean, if you just copy that playbook, if you accumulate zkSync tokens for a couple months, you're probably, by the time the airdrop comes around, going to be pretty well positioned, especially if you're really strict on it and only buy dips. The issue is there's many projects yet to deploy, and we need to wait for some clear leaders in the space. So I want to get into the best perp DEX and the best AMM. I don't know which one that is yet. I haven't researched it enough, but that's something I'll definitely be doing. And I guess aping into, maybe not aping, but getting into zkSync protocols whilst airdrop farming is easier because it gives you an excuse to be on the network, right? If you're trying to accumulate Mute tokens and you're farming them, you're going to have the benefit of going for the airdrop and getting tokens as well. There are also dApps on the ecosystem that are that don't have tokens yet, that are tokenless. The way to view these ones is to go into DeFi Llama, click on DeFi, then go airdrops, then filter by chain, type in zkSync error. Actually, I need to clear, and then go to zkSync. This is a freaking hot tip of alpha for you guys, by the way. So congrats to everyone that stuck around. Click on these networks. These 4 protocols don't have tokens yet, and they are on zkSync. They probably will have tokens. They probably will have airdrops in that case. Anything over $1 million in TVL, use it. See, the reason I say that is because I don't know if something with 150,000 TVL is even worth it. Maybe there's risk there, but SyncSwap, 100%. You can use the network. In fact, it was one of my steps. And just for using the network, you could get airdrop tokens. So not only are you going for ZK airdrops when you're on the network, you're also going for these other ecosystem ones of like SyncSwap is going to probably have their own airdrop, and these other protocols are probably going to have their own airdrops. Mute, for example, already has a token. But as I said, DeFi Llama is going to show you the ones that don't have tokens. So you can research these further, but yeah, there's going to be probably a lot of opportunities in the ecosystem itself. I think there is a way to think there is a way to look at the zkSync ecosystem. It's like zkSync.ecosystem. I think there's a website. Oh, ecosystem.zkSync.io. This, okay? So if you go here to this website, ecosystem.zkSync.io, you're going to view all of the dApps launched on the network. Now, some of these are only on zkSync Lite. So if you click live on Error, which is the second tab here, you're going to see the ones on Error. There's not many, right? You've got Argent, which is a wallet. They're not live. You're going to need to apply for a whitelist there. You've got Orbiter, which is a bridge. For some reason, I couldn't access it today, but yeah. Multi-chain, which is a bridge. You could use that instead of Orbiter for now. OKX wallet, Block wallet, SyncSwap. You've got a few DeFi protocols. And that's basically it, right? Not much, right? So if you go to this website, you're going to get information as to the type of dApps you can use. So I named 4 in today's video. These will give you more options. And of course, many more are going to launch over the next few weeks. I think that's basically it. I'm going to just see if I've missed anything super important. I'm going to answer a couple questions in the meantime, though. So yeah, just remember, if you do want to, I'll give away $100 to someone that retweets and likes this tweet. It's the first link in the description. Just make sure you comment your Twitter handle in the YouTube comments. And then in 24 hours to 48 hours, within that period, I'll pick someone. And on my Sunday stream, I will give away that $100 live. Okay, let's go through and answer some questions. So someone said mute inflation is nasty. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I haven't really looked into mute specifically, but with other ZK protocols, I was kind of off-put. So I'm still waiting on like super strong investments because as you saw, there's not many projects yet on ZK. But once we see, because I like quantitative metrics to determine investments, I love to see TVL and an uptick in volume and fees before I get in without speculating. So I need to see a bit of an uptick, and then I'll probably get into some of the zkSync projects. When I do, I'll keep you updated because I'm trying to play that Arbitrum playbook of getting into projects early and then, you know, in 12 months time, getting some nice appreciation from the rest projects. Timothy retweeted, you're in the, you're potentially going to win some money then. It'll be to a random person. So you're in the, I guess you call it a raffle. Someone said zigzag's on Lite. They're launching on mainnet soon. So zigzag would be a great one to use to get those Lite requirements up. As we saw, Arbitrum Nova still was a requirement. zkSync Lite also could be a requirement. Let's see if there's any other questions. Are Americans eligible? Well, yeah, I think you are. I think Arbitrum got airdropped to Americans. So I don't know how legal it is, but I think you are. I don't know how. You just look into the legalities, because I'm not in America, so I don't have to worry about it. But look into the legalities. There are ways around it, of course. But then again, they just introduced this VPN bill, which could put you in jail for using a VPN. So I mean, obviously, I'm not going to recommend that live on stream. But, you know, you have to make decisions based on what you want to do. Zigzag was glitchy. Yeah, I mean, these dApps are super new. The network's been congested at times. They're going to be glitchy. zkSync isn't great to use yet, guys. It's not Arbitrum. Arbitrum was lovely until the airdrop, and then it got congested. But Arbitrum was lovely. zkSync, going to take some time. So what do I need to do again to get this hundo? You need to go into the first link of the description, like my thread, and retweet my thread, and then comment. But I'll already assume you're part of it, Crimson. I'll just basically go through and pick someone randomly tomorrow. So I'll give it 24 hours for the guys that aren't live that can watch the video. Someone named his son Joby. Joby says it's gotten more popular. That's cool. Wholesome chats in the comments. Totally keen on that. Yeah, it's a I'm gonna work on that Notion thing for you, or at least give you some sort of organizational Notion tutorial. Notion's great. Seriously, look into it. It's gonna help you a lot. We going full-blown airdrop farming? Yeah, I mean, it's just like I see it's just a great skill to be able to trade on chain, to be able to leverage these incentives, but also like just learn by trading, I think it's just such a valuable experience. So I'm not just going to be on zkSync. I'm on Starknet. I'm on Layer0. I'm on 𝗬𝗍𝗍. Just remember, guys, anyone that tells you, oh, you're too late, you've missed the token, look at what the Arbitrum team said. Okay, look at what they said. Look at what 𝗏𝗍𝗱𝗱𝗏 said from the Arbitrum team. Okay, in 2020. So if 𝗬𝗍𝗍𝗍 tells you they're not launching a token, or if zkSync tells you they're not launching a token, you just don't believe it. You really don't. Yeah, I've never used it, 𝗓𝗏, but sometimes it can be fairly bad. MD, you've got my initials, the MD part. Thanks for retweeting the tweet. I think that's it for now. If you do want to swap assets on chain, so spot, to prepare for zkSync. So let's say you're on Arbitrum and you've got ARB tokens, right? And you want to get them onto zkSync via ETH. You could swap them for ETH on KyberSwap. It's going to route you through Paraswap to get you the cheapest price. You could transfer them in, get your ETH, and then you can bridge it on multi-chain or zkSync's bridge, right? So that's probably going to help you a little bit if you're looking to swap on chain. So KyberSwap is probably where I do it, get the best rates, swap in. Because, yeah, not all of you are going to be on an exchange like OKX. Someone said full disclosure, please. I don't know what that means. Don't know what that means. Heard anything about the 𝗏𝗲𝗍𝗶𝗏 airdrop? I haven't gotten an update. I think I haven't got an update, but there was a lot of wash trading, so there will be an airdrop if there hasn't been already. But I'm not I haven't been on 𝗏𝗏𝗍𝗶 in a couple of weeks, so hopefully I'm qualified if there is. All right, I think that ends things for now. Remember, there's a link in the description to OKX if you want to participate in this Tesla giveaway, which is huge. I'll give away that MacBook on Monday. I think Rand's on holiday, so I'll have to do it, which is good because we can do it live on this show, which would be fun. Then, yeah, if you want to do that tweet, it should be the first link of the description as well. I'm going to go to the F1 now. That's why I'm wearing the McLaren hat. I've been invited by McLaren to go trackside, I'm pretty sure. Apparently, I'm going to get to go in one of the cars, which is, to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of like racing or cars, but I guess I don't know. I guess it'll be an experience if I do get to do it. I think Lando Norris is the driver, so of McLaren. So I'll get to hopefully meet him. So it's going to be a pretty fun one. If you're an F1 fan, let me know in the comments. I wish you could come along, but Melbourne is literally at the other side of the world, so it's rare that we get these big events here. But I guess we do have Australian Open as well, so we're a bit of a sporting city. So we got lots going on. So I'm gonna go over there, take earmuffs. I've got AirPods. They actually have noise cancelling, so that should do the trick. I've got a sprained ankle though, so I don't really want to walk around all day. That's my only reservation is the amount of walking to go like trackside back up to the like your seats and back. It's like, so let's see how my ankle holds up. Yeah. I also might go to the footy tonight. Collingwood Richmond. If you're in Australia, you'll know that is a massive game. Literally sold out tickets, and it's 100,000 person stadium. So I don't know what their capacity is. Probably like 80K, but it's going to be at least a 70,000 game. The only game that was sold out this whole month, basically. So yeah, fun day of sporting activity. Hopefully you guys have a fun day of on-chain activity if you're not getting out in the real world. And until the next one, I will see you on the weekend for a pre-record, and I'll be live on Sunday. Peace out, guys. Have a good one.